All right, good morning, guys. Halfway through the week. It is Wednesday, the 26th of April, and you are watching the Wave Weather Blog. I'm meteorologist Brian Good. For Storm Talk today, we're going to keep an eye, of course, on our next storm system coming our way. There will be a little bit of thunder. Still no signs of anything on the severe side, although there could be a few gusty cells mixed into this pattern. Overall, the theme, as you're about to see, is still for a cooler extended period with some breezy conditions, windy conditions. But I would say there's not a lot of rainfall that is showing up after the system that moves in tomorrow. The amount of rain the extended is overall low on the chances. There's only a couple spikes I'll point out. The one thing you're about to see that is a kind of a bummer here is that the pattern is wanting to hold on to us for a while. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be chilly the entire time, but it is going to interact with any type of warming that tries to move into the eastern part of the country. And that interaction would allow for rainfall to try to develop, and that could put us awful close to the important time period of the end of next week. I'll explain. Before you start to panic, no need to panic. All right, I'll explain how the setup looks now and where I think it will likely go. As always, you guys can give your comments on we get someone from YouTube right now. Hello, Kentucky girl on YouTube right now. So if you have any questions, comments, YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter as well. Dan, I did see your comment about 5 Tuesday. I will also explain about how the pattern is looking for general each day next week. So hang tight for the latest on that. All right, let's get into the latest at the Big Four Bridge. And why am I showing that? First off, it looks like it's a sunny, humid August morning, doesn't it there? Look, kind of tropical feel to it. It's so green there. That is going to be the stage area or the sound setup there for the concert tonight for Waterfront Wednesday. It opens at 5 p.m. I think the concert's roughly 5:30 or 6, goes all the way to about 10:30 tonight. It's the first one of the year, so it should be quite busy, and it does look really nice on the weather side. Just want to make sure to give them a shout out. If you have a chance to get out and enjoy it, I would, because tomorrow will be quite different. All right, the satellite, same satellite almost we had yesterday. A batch of clouds across areas to the north. You've seen a couple of green blobs try to form, but it's been so dry, they haven't had a chance to form. And then off to the south, high clouds kind of streaming on by real fast. And this is how it's going to look for the rest of the day. So that means we're going to be facing a lot of sunshine to maybe a hazy scenario in some cases, but warm weather again, even warmer than yesterday. Could get another degree squeezed out of this atmosphere. We'll try. There's not really a strong warming scenario here going on in the Ohio Valley, so we can't see an overachieving type of setup in many areas today. It's pretty much balanced out where it was yesterday, but mid to upper 60s, not bad. We'll take it. Because you look to the west, well, that's where things are going to change. That's where the rain's going to increase. So let's walk you through this first system because it's worth pointing out. We'll begin with the FUTURECAST to the rest of the day and to tonight. No problems, as I mentioned, on this Wednesday. Thursday morning, you're okay. Midday Thursday, I'll go ahead and say it. I think you'll be okay on midday. But once you get past midday, this blob of rain is going to be approaching fairly quick. So by the time I'm either on the midday show or on the noon show, we should be talking about rain arriving into the metro shortly. And that's the storyline we'll have tomorrow as that wave moves through. Remember, this is not a completely circle look here to the low pressure. It's more elongated. So while this looks like this would likely be the main show, it will not be, as you're about to see. So as it approaches, rain and some thunder will be possible, especially on the southeast side of its track. It's still don't see a strong signal right now to get enough fuel for thunderstorms to get to the strong or severe limits on this kind of scenario. But there has been a trend to try to take this low track a little more north. And whenever you get a little more of a southeast wind trying to get involved here into this flow, I can't rule out that may become an issue in the next 12 to 18 hours as the data kind of evolves. I wouldn't rule it out, but right now I don't see anything that I think we need to flag as a severe weather setup. But I think if you're certainly in central and southeast Kentucky, just paying extra attention to details as we get a little closer there. It continues to move on by. More rounds of rain into Friday morning, early in the day. A little breezy at times, could be loud. I mean, this is going to be a setup that will likely feature some lightning, so you may have a bit of a light show at times Thursday night when you're trying to sleep, and early on Friday. But most of the rain is later into Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, early on Friday, and then we say adios, head on out of here to the east. Clouds are going to be tough to get rid of on Friday. That's all right. And they'll gradually clear out, but it may be relatively a gloomy setup for much of the day. Timing on this as it stands now, I think everyone has gotten the idea now. It's going to be approaching toward midday, takes over our area through the afternoon and night. It is going to be blotchy, though, on the heavier amounts, especially if you get any thunder. And it also will count if you get any lightning and thunder or thunderstorms. It will count on the amount of rainfall that you could see. And you can see the modeling, most of them are trying to at least take us onto the upper end of the half inch to an inch mark, and some inch to an inch and a half mark. So this is a good soaking rain coming through. Some of the modeling can't see that far out yet, so that's why the lines are flat through there. It doesn't mean it's not going to rain. They just can't see it. So it just draws the line straight across. But anyway, tomorrow we should have all of them within range, and we'll be able to show these lines. And hopefully they'll be closer together too. But the fact that they're spread out, I mean, a half inch, an inch and a half, that's a full inch difference, right? So thunderstorms make a difference on this based on location. Now, I do think everyone has a chance at an inch of rain on this one. It's not a zone of higher north, lower south kind of setup. This one's not really fitting that narrative because it is pretty sporadic all over. So if you've already planted grass seed, hopefully it's not too much to wash it away, but hopefully it's enough of a soaking rain, at least breaks in between these downpours to where you get that rain to soak in, and hopefully your grass seed will respond nicely down the road. Now, here's the pattern overall that as we evolve into the weekend, into next week, still the same setup where we have the Greenland block, where we got the jet stream. The Atlantic is basically closed. No low pressures are allowed in the Atlantic. It's closed off. The storm systems want to get into the Rockies and head our way, but that area is closed off. There may be one low pressure toward Derby that will work its way into this area, but it'll get stuck in Southern California and we'll have a chance to go any more east. So our storm systems are actually, we're getting them two different ways. We're getting them that are energy from literally around the Arctic, driving down into the plains and then taking turns all the way to the mid-Atlantic, doing a U-turn in the Ohio Valley. And in some cases, after they do the U-turn, guess what? They do another. They turn around, come right back down and visit us again. So it's a constant, what I call the dumbbell effect. You get low pressures that move in and kind of just pinwheel or gyro around each other. And this will happen in a general spot of the eastern United States, all the way in eastern Canada. That prevents, again, any storm systems from moving in from the southwest. So that really cuts down on your big severe weather outbreaks that we've always been talking about, it seems like, for the past several months. It does mean you will stay cool because, again, the wind flow with these lows rotating around will more than likely be a dominant north flow for a good chunk of the time. So it keeps temperatures down. You don't have a ton of moisture. So, again, not a lot of rainfall because you're really not getting a strong south wind either from the Gulf of Mexico, which would feed these storms and produce heavier rain scenarios. So generally the rain is light and spotty, usually daytime oriented because the heating of the ground during the day, and then they fade away at night. Will be breezy. I do think we'll have some gusty winds. I don't think it's going to be a wind advisory type of scenario, but I do think it's going to be gusty almost every single day with this kind of a pattern. And cool, as I mentioned. What do we need to have happen here, though, to get this out of here? because we need it out of here by the time we head toward Derby for sure. And there will be some attempts to weaken this entire structure and begin to allow it to move more toward Maine, begin to fall apart, and then the warmer flow of air really is waiting for us and begins to head north. Now, here's an issue that is showing up before we get to Derby Day that kind of tells two storylines on this. There is a chance that while that dumbbell motion is happening, these lows pinwheel around, as one is to our east and one is basically to our northwest, and they're rotating around, there is a gap where we're basically left open here, and there is going to be a chance for warmer air to try to find its way into the flow. It wants to jump in, the kind you can do when you're spinning around in the, what's that thing called? It's not a merry-go-round. It's obviously I didn't play with friends when I was a kid, so I didn't go to parks. What's the thing called though? Yeah, that goes around and everyone takes turns jumping on while it's still spinning. Surely you guys know. Yeah, you'll figure it out. You'll tell me here in a second. Anyway, that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's spinning and the warm air tries to catch on to the ride. And I do think that is possible. It makes sense. I could see that happening. But the problem is it's still spinning around. So any type of warm air that tries to move in, the cold air will eventually spin right back around again. So that makes the complex forecast even more stressful for later next week. So that's the general pattern idea. Now I'm going to show you specifics. I just didn't want to get into the maps there and not fully explain what you're about to see here in a second. It is a merry-go-round. Okay, very good. All right. See, maybe I do know the 80s more than I realize. Okay, so let's get into the Euro. We'll start there. And look at the clock at the top left. This is going to be the runners for your Saturday marathon. I'm seeing right now for not only the balloon race, balloon globe, by the way, I think looks good. Balloon race and for the mini main marathon, the west flow looks to be the most prominent wind direction that I'm noticing right now. There are some hints it's northwest, but mainly west, and generally about, I would say, 10 to 12 miles per hour. Not bad. Temperatures will likely be in the 50s. So I think good for the races there. Opening night at Churchill Downs. Same storyline. I do think what we need to watch here for really Saturday night into Parade Day Sunday is because everything's spinning around. This is the one low that is spinning up here across the Great Lakes. This one down here in the Gulf states, this one actually snuck in, and it will sneak in actually on Friday and goes all the way over to Texas. And it's trying to then move in this direction and head toward Jersey. As it's doing so, there is going to be a cross point there where they try to interact with each other right over Kentucky. This one's heading this way. This one's heading due south. It's a race against the clock, really, for this one on Sunday into Monday on whether or not these two interact. If they can stay separate enough, I really think the forecast on Sunday won't be too bad. We will have a cool setup, 50s and 60s, and a little bit of a breeze, but not strong enough, likely to cause a big problem for the inflatables. The strongest of wind may come more towards Sunday night. And the rain overall, if it delays dropping down, would be more Indiana, not so much in Kentucky. But it depends on the interaction of those two waves there. That's Sunday's challenge we got. Once we get past Sunday, the wave to the south will eventually roll and head east and combine together with the one in the Great Lakes, and it will then push this low pressure straight down over us. And once that happens, we get into a chilly setup. Coldest of the entire period looks to be Monday into Tuesday. Then as we get past this point for Monday and Tuesday, now again, Dan, Tuesday will be cool. I think still 50s, but Monday looks colder than that. So 50 Tuesday will actually start to improve 50s, and it does look dry. So that's good. Once we get into Wednesday and Thursday, here's where things get weird. Here's where they get weird. Remember, the lows are spinning around. So we've got one that's located here off the Jersey shore, and there is one located up to the north of that, north of where that snow is, north of the banner. So I can't really draw it. As that's happening, look at the storm fuel that's going up in the front range of the Rockies. The reason for that is there's a warm flow of air that sees an opportunity now. It's like, hey, look, there are no low pressures over here into Chicago, Indy, or Louisville, or Nashville, or Chattanooga. I see a chance. I'm going to go for it. So the warm air tries to move in toward 30. But as it does so, here's the problem. Because here comes the next low that's dropping down now. The other one's over here. So again, they're all kind of rotating around each other in a clockwise fashion here. So this next one's dropping down, but now that it's dropping down from the north as we head into Thurby, into Oakstay, there's warmer air that did arrive. That will then allow for the next rain band to actually be a little more of a rain and thunderstorm type setup, which would take us into Thursday night into Oaks morning. And then the map stops here. But if it were to continue, remember, this is a low that's spinning around, so it would continue heading southbound. So it would likely result in a drying setup for Derby, but it would likely be cooler than what Oaks would be if that trend of rotating around would be the case. So the warmer air, while it's nice to get a little warm surge trying to get its hat into the rain here, the problem with it trying to interject itself into this kind of a pattern is it then may spike the moisture levels, and that may cause a bit of a bump on the rain chance. That's the Euro. Let me show you the GFS, and the GFS plots the chilly air, so it's a little different look to it. You see the interaction on Sunday for the parade. Same storyline, really. Low south, low north. Will they interact over Kentucky or not? Good question. Right now, there's a gap on almost every model, so I like that. Once they interact, though, then eventually the main low will take over, and it'll begin to drop south and allow for the chilly air for Monday into Tuesday. You see what it's doing here as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. It's leaving. It's already beginning to turn all the way back over into this direction to the northern Atlantic. And here we go. Same story. The warmer air saw an opportunity. It begins to flow right into the Ohio Valley, but it's doing so ahead of another low that is about to spin with one of those that came through, and it's spinning back around again. So now it's forming the rain band and thunder along it that will try then to push to the south. This is where its model stops, but you see what's happening. There's the low in the Great Lakes for Oaks Day. There's the front that's causing the showers and storms parked right over us. And the low has got to kick that out of here to get a drier setup for Derby, but it will allow for cooler weather. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be the way it will play out. I'm just telling you that this is the data trend in the last 12 hours compared to when I talked to you guys last. What likely seems to be causing this is a teleconnection we call the EPO. It does have a little bit of an off signal compared to what it had yesterday, and I think that's the reason why we've seen that little warm bubble trying to throw its name in the hat. It could be gone, though. Once I look at the midday numbers and this afternoon, we may not have the warm air trying to interject, and then we go back to just a general drier, cooler pattern that will roll. But my fear on this is that this is such a complex setup here with so much going on we got to watch. The confidence level for the Thurby, Oaks, and Derby outlook is extremely low this year. Maybe I should just said that. Been a lot easier, right? It is extremely low this year. And I promise you we're working on it to try to find a way to get into a higher confidence level on this, but there's just no way. At this point, it's too far out. Too far out, too many moving pieces here, and things could go one way or another. So, again, that's why I don't want you guys to change your plans or your outfits or anything like that. I just want you guys to understand what we're facing, understand the players on the field, and I'm hoping that you all will just keep checking back in, and we'll just give you updates on where we stand on the storyline, and hopefully we will see something start to lock in, and it's a nice lock, too, of warmer weather coming our way. All right, does that make sense? Type 1, if it made sense. I feel like I just put you all to sleep. Anyone awake? NJ, are you awake? Sorry, I get real hyper on explaining these things sometimes, so I don't mean to get too technical, but I also want to make sure I'm clear on how the forecast could look different on your 10-day, depending on which show you're watching in the next couple of days, and why it changes. I want you to understand why it changes. That's important to me. All right, everyone looks good. All right, I got a cue for Glenda. Is that a question or just a cue? All right, I think everyone's good. I think everyone's all right. I think everyone understands it. We are confident in the rain, though, coming tomorrow. High confidence. Rain's coming, soaking rain, maybe some thunder in some areas. We'll need to watch that. And I'm also confident this afternoon is certainly the pick of the week and may be the pick of the next 10 days. My advice, get outside and enjoy it. You all take care. I'll be back with another update coming up on midday at 11 a.m. And, of course, as well on the noon show coming up just after 12 o'clock today. All right, guys, have a good one. Behave yourselves. I'll see you on the flip side.